Hello, everyone, and welcome to Migrant Munch. My name is Dr. Sharika Senamiratna, and I'll be your host on this podcast. Migrant Munch is a platform for people from migrant backgrounds to come together and talk about their stories. Let's dive into today's story. Welcome everyone to another episode of the Migrant Munch. So today we've got one of my very good friends on here today, and I'll let her introduce herself to you.
Thanks, Sherry. Hi everyone. I am Duygu and I am from Turkey. My Australia journey started 7 years ago. So before I came to Australia, I finished psychology in Istanbul. And as soon as I graduated, I just wanted to go on an adventure. Didn't think much about it. A friend of mine told me about this program called Working Holiday. You can basically go to Australia and just like work and travel at the same time, like a backpacker, actually. And I applied and came here straight away. So the first few years, I was on this journey, and then I got a scholarship for research masters in psychology.
In terms of, I guess, when you first came here, how did you feel?
Oh, just to give a bit of a context
Mhm.
about like who I was when I came here, very naive, I think. Left uni and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go on this big adventure. But I didn't know anyone, except one relative that I never met. So they told me I could stay with them for a week. So I knew that I just heard about that person. But no one else really. And English, like I studied in medium English university. So academically, I was kind of comfortable, but little that I knew that I wasn't good at speaking English
Yeah, wow,
or
okay.
understanding English as much. So I really overestimated my capabilities. So when I came, that family picked me from the airport. And as soon as we arrived, there was this old lady who opened the door that was supposedly, like family friend. But the first thing she told me was, why did you come here? I don't even know like who you are. She was quite old, like maybe, I don't know, 70s or something. That was the first sentence. And she said, no one here can find work. Everyone works like $1 an hour. And she like didn't even invite me inside and she told me all that like terrifying stuff. And yeah, this was how I started terrified. But I still remember sleeping that night very like, that feeling of something is right.
Yeah.
That hope, that excitement. I still remember sleeping with that feeling of, oh my gosh, this really like feels so right at the moment. Although, it was scary to have those conversations. But I left them after a week
Yeah.
and never talked to them again. So,
Okay, so that took a bit of a turn. So what happened after that 1 week was up?
um, so I found my first job at a sandwich shop. I just hated it, and I just couldn't coordinate myself, like putting all the ingredients in a sandwich. Like sounds like a very
Mm,
simple job, but for me it was so hard,
yeah.
and I didn't like the pressure of hospitality and just working under pressure. So I left that place. So I found a Turkish family, and they said they were looking for a babysitter, like for a couple of months. So I went to stay with them and look after the kids, but it turned out kids are also not my thing. And then I found a cleaning job,
Hmm.
and it fit so right because, like, you didn't have to perform under pressure. You didn't have to feel responsible for like other people.
I love how authentic you are doing. I know I've mentioned this before, but just your ability to just, be like, nah, fast pace is not for me, kids not for me. I think that's so important for people to kind of realize that, yeah, that's how the world is and you're not going to fit in everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you made me think of some of my first jobs as well. I remember doing a catering job where I had to like go and then they'd like pack up the van and then we'll go in the little van to like the location and set up. And when we came back, we had to like clean up and you had to push things through like the dishwasher. But the chef at the time was like, "Oh, you're too timid," and he like
Oh
was like, "You got to push it fast." And I was so like small and just so just so like undervalued at the time. I completely get where you're coming from in terms of finding places where you fit in. And
yeah, I
yeah,
can so relate to that. Feeling small and also people telling you what is the ideal you have to be, right? And
yeah,
then because you're not feeling comfortable in your own skin anyway, so you tend to believe what everyone says.
yeah,
You shouldn't be timid. You should be confident. You're
yeah.
not doing this enough. You're not doing that enough until we find kind of our feet on the
Mm-hmm.
ground.
Yeah,
You tend to like go just like with the wind and
yeah.
listen to other people a lot, not really being able to trust yourself and who you really are. Also, you don't know who you really are because you're so young, right? Everyone, I think, finds their own way at the end. It's a bit, I guess, a paradox for me
Mhm.
because since I was a child, I always trusted my heart. But at the same time, I was easily influenced by others, like that kind of tension
Yeah,
between the two. And I think I came to realize there is no one way of being or living. Sometimes you trust your heart, sometimes you tend to get influenced by others. That's fine. Like it's okay to be able to embrace all different perspectives instead of trying to find the right way.
yeah. Do you think that perspective has changed for you though, as you've got older and you've got more experience now? You've been here, you said 7 years.
No, definitely not. I follow my heart so much. At the end of the day, I guess you learn to be comfortable with what's right for you. That's yeah, following your heart and your instincts while also learning from others. I guess this is my, understanding and how I live right now. After cleaning, I went to Longreach. Longreach, it's like a small town in Queensland.
Hmm.
I had to do something very, useful, and grow in my career and whatever. So I found an internship at Deakin. I came here, and I met this professor at Deakin in person who really significantly influenced my life. And then he said, "Yeah, why don't you go to my hometown called Longreach in Queensland?" And I looked it up, and the postcode worked like perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It was just on that border. I'm like, okay, I emailed a museum, Qantas Museum,
Hmm.
which I think Qantas was born in Longreach.
Okay.
It was like a planes museum. And then they said, yeah, you can come. And then I went like the next week, basically. It was
Wow.
just like very quick. So I just thought I'm going into this like green, beautiful place, like somewhere like exotic in Queensland. And I took a train, which I think it was like a day journey. And as we went along, everything became like dry and yellow.
Oh
And I was
gosh.
like, where is this blue, like beautiful green place? There's almost like nothing to do. I think it was 3,000 people living there. And I knew no one. I didn't understand any accent. It was just like crazy.
Oh my God. Okay. How long were you there for?
It's it is also another funny story. So I was supposed to live there for 3 months. It was the condition.
Yeah.
So but because I was just so obsessed about my career and what I'm gonna do in my life, only 2 weeks left to finish the 3 months. I found this conference in Melbourne and I thought it was a really good idea for me to go to Melbourne. I don't know why I thought it was a good idea, but I came to Melbourne for a conference, which is like completely insane. And then it took me so long to find another regional work. I went to Darwin
Yeah.
for a month, couldn't find a job. And then I decided to go back to Longreach again. So this time I worked at a hotel pub kind of thing, like, the truck drivers sleep in and all that
Mm.
kind of vibe. I was doing housekeeping in the morning, then I was working at the pub, just like in the bar at night time. So this is, I ended up 3 more months. It's like a 6 months um, journey. Also, that professor I was talking about, he worked at the same pub when he was a teenager, I think. Like he was very
Whoa.
young.
That's so
But
cool.
I know, that was such an interesting
Oh
story.
my God. So you've had quite a journey. So wait. Okay. So, all right. So I knew you when you started working with us, right?
Hmm.
So fill in the gaps for me now from Longreach to when you came to Melbourne or when you came back to Melbourne.
Yes, I came back to Melbourne after Longreach and kept working in a cleaning job
Hmm.
for a while, but at the same time, I was looking for a scholarship that I could do masters, and I wanted to do research because I thought I was really interested in research.
Yeah.
But it took me such a long time to find a scholarship, and I was almost accepted at Uni of South Australia, but then it didn't work. Yeah, it was my last chance was Swinburne, and it worked. I found this amazing
Wow.
supervisor. How much I brag about it to you, you remember?
Yeah. Oh, that's
It's
so random how you and I happened to be starting at Swinburne around the same time. And then we went into the pandemic as well. And
yes.
we were isolated, but we still managed to connect and stay in touch and help each other through that crazy journey.
Yes, it was so special. I still, really value it so much, and I think I'll always value it like all my life. I'll remember that because it's very hard when you're doing research to find people that you can relate to. It's a very isolating journey.
There was a lot going on, right? And we didn't know when we were going to come out of lockdown. We were both working as well, but we were able to create that space to kind of, talk about all the struggles we were facing because we didn't know where else to go as well. And it was nice
Yeah,
to have each other at that time.
yeah, it's really important. That's why another reason I wanted to do this because I think support network is where everything comes through
Yeah.
when you're a migrant. It's I think the essential is your support network. It could
Yeah.
be it could be a lot of strategic support. Like who do you know, where you can find work and all that stuff, but also a lot of emotional support that you need because it's such a roller coaster. It's not maybe masters or PhDs on top of it, but being a mark, like moving to another country is such a big roller coaster and unknown in
Yeah.
itself.
And how did you find those people? You said that you didn't really know a lot of people when you first came here. What, like,
Uh,
thinking about people who are listening in and going, I just moved here. Where do I start to be like you someday?
It was almost like an expansion for me if I want to put it in a research framework.
Hmm.
And then this is like how your mind works straight away. I guess the core was the Turkish friends that I made in the very, very first few weeks in,
Hmm.
like in my journey. And how I met them is just met one of them at the airport. We were in Singapore together, and then we ended up working at the same place. So weird, cleaning. He's in Japan now, but he's really touched my life. Met one of them at Turkish festival, like all that little jobs and moving around, few friends, your housemates and stuff.
Mm.
And I was also doing tango. So I've
Oh,
been
wow.
dancing when I was at university. That was so important that because it's a social dance. You can
Mm.
dance with anyone in like around the world. You don't have to know the choreography, the steps, anything. It's just like such beautiful like connection straight away. I think that's a big secret for me that I found at community and I could
Yeah.
connect very quickly. Those little things started it. I had my boyfriend and that introduces you to another kind of circle. Many
Yeah.
more circles.
Sounds like a lot of it is around putting yourself out there without sort of just overthinking it. Just put yourself out there. Like I was thinking when you said you met someone at the airport, like, oh my God, like,
Yeah.
is it not scary to just talk to somebody at the airport? That's how I would be like, oh, should I just like talk to this person who's here? But again, if you never know, if you don't have the conversation, you'll never know, right? And that's not saying, just go talk to random people at the airport, but trust your instinct, right?
Yeah, I think so. Trusting your instincts really help. And once you build a little bit of a community,
Hmm.
then like it all becomes friends of friends.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, it's not as scary anymore as it
Mm.
was in the first days. I don't know if it was actually scary or if I was really scared.
Were you
I don't
scared?
know. Yeah, I was terrified. I was just so scared. When I was doing all that stuff, it doesn't mean, I was this extroverted, full
Mm.
confident person. I didn't have many experiences in Islam, like in Turkey in general. I was okay, only child. I have a stepbrother, but we didn't live together. In a small family, always studying like to death. It doesn't mean like I came from all that grounded, emotionally most mature, knowing how to do things environment.
Mm.
But so what? There are like we talked about so many things, but I
Mm.
want to share a couple of things that really helped me.
Yeah, go for it.
I guess two things that I did, like a theme across my life, not only in Australia, that didn't serve me. And I learned a few things to, how to change that. And it's working well for me. The first one is pushing too much. So, what does that mean? Like, pushing too much in my life was even before Australia, like, I was really the top student and all that jazz we know about. And when I came here, I was trying to settle in like a job and an apartment and financial stuff. But at the same time, I was like, I need to have this internship. Otherwise, my life means nothing. So, and then I was like doing this internship at Deakin, which included calling people. And then I'm like, I'm not comfortable speaking English right now. It's like 2 months in, right? Very new. But I was like, no, this is my dream. I had to push myself. And I definitely like would write a script, like memorize it, and then call participants and just beg that, oh my gosh, I hope they don't ask questions, like everything goes plain to the script and
Hmm.
that pressure off because of your obsessions about what life should look like and who you should be. And that pushing and pushing and pushing really like kept going consistently. But I guess I just pushed a little bit too hard during masters. And then it opened my mind to, oh, hang on a second, what if I let go?
Mm.
And it was such a beautiful moment of, oh, there's actually an alternative that you don't have to do it or be this person.
Yeah.
Pushing through helped me a lot. I have such an amazing life, and I think I deserve to say that I made it and I earned it with pushing through a lot of challenges, but that having that awareness is really important. So if you want to push through, you push through just because you value something, not it's compulsive,
Yeah.
kind of unconscious pushing.
Yeah. There is going to be a point where you push and then you just can't anymore. And you're tired of trying to please maybe other people or like these expectations of yourself that you put on yourself, right? And then it just becomes too much. So you captured that really well.
Yay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so good to have that common because you only understand when you do it.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm sure
Um,
a lot of people feel the need to do it when they're migrants because they come here and then they're like, okay, I have to be perfect. Everything has to go perfectly. I can't make mistakes because I've spent this much money. Maybe, parents have spent money. And so you've got to come here and do your absolute best work. And sometimes it all just gets a bit too much.
It's
Yeah.
you who is responsible for giving yourself that bit of a space and breathing room.
Yeah.
No one else is going to. They will try,
Mm.
but you have to be open to it. And for me, it took such a long time to crack that. It sounds so scary, but you can choose to, give yourself that privilege of being human.
Yeah. And being kind to yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the second. So,
Oh, sorry. I didn't even know that. Look how in tune we are.
I know this conversation flow is amazing, like very natural. The second is I struggled so much with self-criticism.
Mm.
It's such a big theme since I was, I don't know, very early. I don't even remember myself not overthinking. And being a migrant in this context, you'll fail maybe the first time. I was a star student, went to best uni, and everything went so planned.
Mhm.
But here I fail, I don't know, 100,000 times just because you're trying something. And when you try, you fail. Like
Mm.
it, it's supposed to work that way.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't accept that. So when I couldn't accept that, my mind would attack me like, how come you're not good at this? How come you can't
Mm.
do that? How come you don't plan for this, I don't know, submission not, that early? How come you're that? How come you're not this? How come you're not? So that constant like attack on yourself, I guess the first stage of it is complete unawareness. So you believe whatever your mind tells you is the majority of my life. You believe you don't deserve it, it's your fault, like thinking this is going to be the best way, but you're behind. What
Mm.
about all your friends doing that? I don't know, there's so much variation of how you can be so hard on yourself. Yeah, first stage is being aware of it, which
Mm.
is like really important. Like who would have say it's like mindfulness thing, but it's a big part of it for me. I guess the second stage of it is you're still not fully convinced that you can love yourself, you can be supportive. To me, like in definitely in my own experience, I think it's because it wasn't demonstrated. So I
Mm.
didn't see those examples in my life enough. It's the beauty of traveling. You see people who are just opposite to you.
Mm.
Like you, first of all, you observe. Like you go to work, you see people making mistakes and like such being okay with it, just joking about it. You miss a deadline, your supervisor is like, oh, you've tried so hard, like such a shame, but all of my other students do this as well,
Mm.
like that's okay. Like you have these conversations over and over again. Just that observing the alternative ways of being and alternative ways that others can treat you
Yeah.
so important. That's why when I say fresh perspectives, I really mean it, not because it's fancy to do different activities, because you meet so many different people from very different walks of life
Mm.
and they all show you, like how you can be a better person.
Yeah.
Then once you start to accept, oh, maybe I am worthy of this.
Mm.
When that door opens up, then it's back to you to reinforce it. I
Yeah.
guess it's the mindfulness that I do. Doesn't mean I don't have self-criticism anymore. But when I hear like, how come you can't do this? And I say to myself, this is a self-distract, like I'm distracting myself from
Mm.
my intention to be kind and to be supportive of myself so that I can be supportive of others.
Yeah, true.
So I guess these two things are really like completely shifted my life, and I feel coming to another country, of course I accomplished so much, but learning these, they will stay
Mm.
with me, I guess, all my life.
I again agree 100%. And it for me, when you were talking about how it could be like culture and you were a top student and you went to the best university and all of that, I was thinking, oh my goodness, because I grew up in Sri Lanka and that is like a lot of Sri Lankans will say, yes, that is us, because it's this pressure to be the best kid and to bring the best grades and to do your best work all the time. And so when you grow up with those expectations, sometimes you go into adulthood with that and you're like, I have to be the best at everything, right? And so when you don't do as well, or when you kind of are kind of pushed back a little bit or you're challenged, you go, okay, why can't I do this? Or why can't I meet the deadline? Why can't I achieve all the KPIs or all the different things I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
achieving? And it takes a lot for us to kind of, yeah, stop and go, hold on. Do I really have to do all of these things? Or is it going to bring me more benefit, or is it going to be worse for me in the long run? I'm sure a lot of migrants will resonate with everything we've talked about here about expectations on yourself, about, feeling scared when you first come here and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? Because especially when you come when you're younger, like I came when I was a teenager, and you're like, cool, I'm going to a new country, it's going to be fun, I'm going to university, make new friends. And then you come here and you're suddenly in this environment where it's like, oh my God, no one's here. It's so different. And I've got to figure out where to go and what to do and get groceries and clean the house and feed myself and find a job and all these other things, right? Plus I have to go to university and I've got to do my work. I have to keep my grades up. I have to pay my bills. I have to do all that stuff as well. So everyone's journey is different, but at the basic premise of it is scary, and that's a shared feeling among all, well, almost all migrants.
Yes, it is scary, and like you're not alone.
That's true. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dewey. I really appreciate you coming on this podcast. Thank you so much for coming on this podcast and for telling us your story and for being so open and providing useful tips as well that hopefully people can use in their lives. And I'm
Thanks,
sure we can tell everyone on the podcast as well who's listening on the podcast that, this is not a one and done kind of episode. We will have more conversations like this and there'll be more surprises to come as well. Thanks for listening to this episode of Migrant Munch. If you really liked what you heard today, reach out to us, get in touch, tell us what really inspired you, and we'd love to connect with you and hear more about your story.